Un fuerte aplauso para Matt, por favor.
Hello, thank you. Testing, testing. Here we go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, all. Now, for a change, this is an English presentation. I've been listening to Spanish all day, and my Spanish is pretty bad, so it's time for some English. I will do my introduction and talk through the content for the presentation, but my day today started with, I sit on the advisory board for ITC Vegas, so a big event in Vegas. And this morning we had a meeting about how the event was in October and what they could do better for the next time. And one of the big discussions was maybe we should change the format, so no more 60-minute keynotes, because people, they zone out, yeah, they don't have the attention span. So I'm here to present for 60 minutes as a keynote. So I will try and make my keynote engaging, my content interesting and valuable. I will try and speak slowly, and I appreciate this is a second language, third language, fourth language for many. So I will have time for questions. Please save those up. If it's urgent, let me know, and I'm happy to make this an interactive session if I can. So this is the content for today. There are 3 chapters. So I want to bring an international perspective, yeah? So we're going to talk about a graveyard, we're going to be talking about tortoises, and we're going to be talking about a golden pen, okay? And it's all going to come clear as to what this means. And you may already have a sense, maybe this is InsurTech, maybe this is incumbent, or the big corporates, and maybe this is the future, okay? So, introduction to me. So my business is a business called Sønr. We are, oh hey, I've been evolving my presentation, so look at this. I mean, pretty cool, right? So, we are a market intelligence business. We track information on 4 million companies around the world. So we have expertise across industries, but we only work within the world of insurance. And how we work with insurance companies is we help them understand market trends. We help them understand what their competitors are doing from an innovation and transformation perspective. And we help them identify new opportunities to evolve their business. So which startups or scale-ups should they work with, who they should invest into, and who should they partner with. And we work with 50 of the largest insurance companies around the world. So we have huge business in the US, in Europe, in Japan, as well as other places. We have one Mexican client, so hey, it's a start. We're getting here. But as well as that, for any business, we also publish a lot of content. So we write the InsurTech 100 or the Forward 50. And these are publications which celebrate the best InsurTechs in the industry. But the reason I'm here is Sønr. So at the bottom here is a newsletter that I write, and I write it every 2 weeks. So I was the kid at school who hated writing. My mum was an English teacher. I was dyslexic. I mean, she, you know, the connection already, she wasn't proud. And I started writing about 6 years ago, a newsletter that went to nobody, right? It's the first time you send a newsletter, and then it went to 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, and now it's read by about 70,000 people every 2 weeks around the world, including the InsurTech Mexico guys. So they read the newsletter, and they're like, come on, buddy, let's come over to Mexico and talk about your world. So here I am. Who am I? So, again, some good animation. So I got asked the question in there's a lady who runs a big podcast in Europe. And she's a friend, and she didn't want to send any questions over. She wanted it to be spontaneous. And so the first question she said to me is, so who is Matt? And it's a difficult question, right? If somebody asked that, who is you, right? Who is Santiago? How do you answer that? And for me, it's not about my business, right? So I'm a husband, I'm a dad, I'm an entrepreneur. And this is the new me, right? Anybody doing a High Rocks on this weekend in Mexico City? It's like a CrossFit kind of competition thing. Anyway, so these guys invited me to speak, and I found out there was a High Rocks on the same weekend, right? So yes. So it's the new me. But this is also me. Okay. Did you get rally bikes in Mexico? Yeah. So this was my bike, right? Rally burner. I loved this bike so much. So I didn't come from a wealthy family. So this bike was, for me, it was, when I was small, but it was also the same bike I rode when I was quite big, probably a little too big. And I rode this bike every single day of my life, right? I grew up in the countryside in England, but I spent my whole childhood thinking about what is the business that I'm going to create, right? But this thing that I had in me around creating business was all about invention. So I wanted to invent something. What is the white space? What does the future need? And this is the same challenge I had all the way through to university, right? I rode a different bike at that stage, but it was what is it that I'm going to invent? What is my first company going to be? And I couldn't think of anything, so I got a job. Yeah, I got a job in my early 20s. And within 3 months, I thought, you know what, I could do this better. And I realized suddenly that innovation isn't invention. Innovation is doing things a little bit better, a little bit different. Sometimes it's invention. But for me, I realized actually I can just take something that already exists and I can reinvent that in a way that improves it. Okay. So for me, this is my childhood and my bike, and that's my connection. So what I love doing is creating and innovating in that sense. So, game number 1. I don't want people to shout the name of the company, but does anybody, hands up if you know who this company is? This is a case study that's often used in innovation corners. Okay, good. We have 1. We have Oscar. 2. So, 1889, a playing card company in Japan. There you go. That's clue number 1. Any more people? Okay. Clue number 2. 1956. The card business wasn't going very well, so they pivoted. They pivoted to love hotels and other businesses, right? A love hotel in Japan. Sure. 1966. They pivoted again. So this is a kid's toy, right? This is a grabber. You kind of move this thing and it goes out and grabs. Anybody know who this company is? More people? Okay. 1977. Okay, you're going to know who the company is now, right? It's Nintendo. So this is a classic example of the opposite to what I'm talking about, right? On me and my bike, trying to continuously improve stuff. These guys pivoted. They pivoted different businesses. And then they settled on the electronic games market. Super cool. And I think it's all context to this world of insurtech, right? We are here in a market that has white space opportunity, but as well as that, it has a lot of history that we simply can evolve and do a little bit better. So I'm going to talk about that today. So the graveyard. The graveyard is insurtech is dead. We are all tech vendors now. Okay, so this is a message that I've heard from many, many founders. Okay, so founders who are starting their journey, founders who are private equity backed. Yeah, so it's small companies, large companies. Genuinely believe this is true. Yeah, and I know we're at an insurtech association, so for me to say this is a little confrontational, but it's true, right? And I see this from my clients. So we work with hundreds of big companies around the world, yeah? They don't care anymore if you're an insurtech. They really don't. Yeah, they need a CRM system, they need algorithmic underwriting, they need climate tech, they need whatever. They couldn't care less what your label is. Yeah, they have a problem, they need a solution. And they now treat all of insurtechs as tech vendors. And it's a really interesting thing. So how did we get here? So this is content you will have seen if you're living in this market, okay? And I assume, because you're here, you will have seen all of this. So this is the narrative. Innovate or die. Disrupt or be disrupted. Yeah, this is 5-10 years ago. This doesn't exist anymore. This has changed. And again, remember, I'm talking globally. Locally, it may be a little different. This was like, I love the phrase, death by 1,000 paper cuts. Yeah, if that translates. But there's small businesses chipping away, taking little parts of a bigger company. Yeah? And this is what we thought was going to happen in the industry, but it's not true. We saw money coming in, and people used to love this, right? This is what we do as a company, right? We track all the information around these businesses. We track the flow of money into these companies to better inform trends and understanding. We saw crazy money coming in from mostly America, US, but also in the Asian markets. So 2021 was, yeah? And in part it was because of this, yeah? It was coronavirus. There was a responsibility suddenly, overnight, that companies had to digitize. Yeah? They had to create maybe new products and services, but certainly digital products and services for their customers, because their customers were now at home. And so what we saw on the slide before is we saw so much interest from venture capital coming to the world of insurtech, because these were the businesses that could help these companies evolve to digitize. And we also saw, we called it VC tourism. Yeah, so we saw venture capital from outside, from retail. No shops are going to exist, right? We have COVID. So they come to insurtech. Other industries, they come to insurtech. Because it's a 100-plus-year-old market that has barely changed. And one of my ambitions, so I turned, you won't believe this, but I turned 47 this year. And for me, I've been doing this stuff for 8 years and barely seen change. Yeah? One of my absolute goals is before I retire, I want to see some movement in this industry, right? And things are slowly happening, and on a global basis, I think the change is much, much quicker than what I see here, or here, here. But things are happening. So we get through COVID. But what starts to happen is this narrative around it's never going to work out. Insurtech isn't here to stay. Yeah? So excuse the terrible sort of illustration here, but what we have is you have a bunch of insurtechs who have a message from their venture capital backers, and that message is growth at all costs. Yeah, just grow, grow, grow. It doesn't matter how expensive this is. This money will flow forever. Just grow. But you can see, they make no money, yeah, and they lose a lot of money. So you have this kind of paradox of money being poured into these ventures to scale, but what happens? You get a lot of IPOs, so companies going public, and then the stock price. I mean, the market isn't great, right? But the stock price for insurtech, it starts there, poof. And you look at Lemonade, right? It's a great example. Santiago and I were talking about Lemonade yesterday, where you have the best results currently since 2022. But when they IPO'd, they were up here. Their best results since 2022, they're still down here. Yeah? And it's a market that it's easy to get to see all these numbers and say insurtech is no future. No future. It will get more positive, I promise. Valuations, so this is a lot of conversation in the market, and sorry if I'm blocking the screen here, but valuations went from 20-fold, so we as a business, we got approached to sell or to be acquired many, many times. And I wish I said yes, yeah, because we had crazy multiples. Yeah, now we're maybe 2 times, 3 times. It's like, what? Will this change? Sure, it will change. I'll come on to that. So where are we? So this isn't quite where we are, because this is, we've now finished Q3 of 2024. But what you see is, you see the height of 2021, and this investment into insurtech, it gets less and less. But look at this. Look at this. It's starting to come back. Or is it? So Q3 is just below 1.4. So again, a little bit further up. So what we're seeing is actually the tourist VC has gone. There is a great Warren Buffett phrase. I don't know if this will translate, but when the tide goes out, you see who's swimming naked. Yeah, you know that one? I love that, right? And you've had terrible state, right? If your business does not turn a profit, because now you have the venture capital who said growth at all costs, suddenly you need a path to profitability, right? Just overnight. Poof. Crazy, right? These businesses were not designed to be profitable businesses yet. Yeah, give them a few years, sure. And so you had this really crazy time. But now what we have is the remaining market are businesses that either can make money or soon will make money. So they have that mapped out. The capital is now a little bit more sensible. but also it needs to find a home. Yeah? So you've got venture capital, you've got private equity, you've got CVC, corporate venture capital, and it's sitting on a mountain of cash because it's been waiting. It's been waiting to be deployed. Yeah? And their business is to deploy capital. They have to spend this money. And what you have is you have some companies now that are proving they can be sustainable and successful businesses. You have some cash, which is waiting for a home. What you have now is you have simple economics. You have supply and demand. Yeah? So the supply is short because you have very few companies that can show profitability. But you have a demand which is huge from the VC who wants to put money into these companies. So what we're going to see now is valuations starting to come back up, right? Gold Rush 2.0. So what are we seeing globally? So we've seen the lemonades of the world, the Hippos and other brands on the slide. For us, we have studied this market so much. We have worked with all of our clients around the world, and we have better understood the needs of their businesses as well as what is going on in the industry. From a global perspective, mature markets, there are no disruptors anymore. Maybe one or two or three or four. What tech companies that we're seeing, they're enablers. They are designed to work with and improve established corporates. Yeah? 90+% of the insurtechs that we see, the tech vendors that we see, are enablement technology. Yeah? They're not disruptors. Equally this, and for those who were at ITC Vegas, I thought this was really interesting. You have 3 white sheep, you have a black sheep, the color's not so relevant. But what you have is you have companies that are from outside of insurance now stepping into the industry. And again, it's making another challenge, right? These are businesses. Insurance, as I said earlier, it doesn't care whether you're an insurtech or a tech company, these big corporates. Yeah, they want their solution answered. Yeah, so when I say a CRM, is CRM an insurtech? Nah, not really. Is an algorithmic underwriting platform an insurtech? Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's not really going to be applied elsewhere. What about technology that helps solve loneliness, or femtech, or climate offsetting? Is that an insurtech? Not really, right? But they are playing in this space. And so in Vegas, we did a really interesting session. We worked with travelers on a global basis, and they had their claims team going to Vegas. And so on the Tuesday, we had the result of months of work. And so we worked with their claims team to understand what are the needs within their claims business. And what is it that they're working on? What are their projects? And how can we look at the external technology in the market and to accelerate the opportunity to get from A to B? Yeah? Are there vendors, are there tech companies we can bring in to help you? What blew my mind is every technology business that we identified to help the claims business, they had never worked in insurance and they had never heard of ITC Vegas. Yeah? And you're talking about a conference that has 9,000, 10,000 people. Yeah? And then we're still introducing newbies, new companies into this space. Yeah? So I think what we're going to see, we are already seeing it, we're looking beyond the echo chamber. Again, if that's a word, right? So when I started my business, we talked about the 3,000 insurtechs. Soon it was the 6,000 insurtechs. And then we opened our platform to 200,000. Now we have to make all 4 million companies that we track available to our clients. Yeah? And it's really interesting, this change. So let's get on to the fun stuff. Okay, and I've heard a lot about this in Mexico, right? The year of incrementalism. So I'm delivering a presentation in a language that isn't your first language, and I use a word like incrementalism. Yeah? So slow, iterative change. Yeah? Incrementalism. So this is global problem, right? You have big established businesses designed to be adverse to risk. Yeah? We're talking big corporates. And I'm going to share some insights with you. So then this is a a slide I found, and I've been using this slide for years, right? But it's a slide I love. I've changed some of the words, and I've also got some animation, so I'm quite excited to show you the evolution. Down the bottom, you have a bunch of companies that are digitizing today, yeah, evolving their business. It's iterative, it's transformative. And then you have a bunch of businesses that are innovating for tomorrow. Yeah? And with our clients, we have some who are more here and some who are more there. And I think, I'm not here to talk to you about the Mexican or the LATAM environment as much as the global, but I think you could probably put a marker down where you think most of your corporates sit on this, right? You have new risks, new technologies, new opportunities that are coming through, and you have a responsibility as a corporate to evolve, right, to change. Because if you don't, and we're starting to see this in the mature markets already, there's a separation in performance. Yeah? Those that are innovating, those that are experimenting, those that are using external insurtechs, tech vendors, to get from A to B faster, they are performing better than their counterparts who aren't. Right? And that difference will only get more and more extreme. And yeah, you can buy your way out of it, but it will become expensive. Yeah? And I appreciate these big corporates, they have a lot of money, but there's only a certain amount of money that you have, especially if the good ones have already gone. Yeah? This is where I think we are. Look at that. Hey, I've had fun. Mostly on the flight on the way over. But so this is where I think I am. But I'd be really interested to see where you think you guys are on this from a Mexican market perspective, whether you even agree on this. So something else that we are doing. So we, this year is the first year, so we have not got the historical data, so forgive me. But we are running a survey through 100 of the leading insurance carriers and reinsurers around the world. So some of the names that have been on stage today even. On the, as you're looking at it, the left-hand side here. So the question I asked here is, how is your innovation function structured? Yeah? And it's really interesting for me because for the last 5 or 10 years, we've been working with teams that have been very, very centralized. Yeah? So you have an innovation function within a large insurance company, and they help the business units understand how to innovate and who they should be working with. That's changing. Yeah? And so we have a 67% hybrid model in the response. But what we're seeing is these innovation functions around the world getting cut. Yeah? Innovation seems to be getting pushed to the responsibility of the business units. Right? And this is really interesting because it's good and it's bad. The good is the business units are the people who have the headache to deliver. Yeah, they know the problems that they need to solve incredibly well. So now they can solve those problems by connecting the problem to the solution, and off they go. Equally, they have no idea how to innovate because they're not innovators. Yeah, so they've got 100% busy jobs, and now they have innovation as one of their responsibilities. So will they innovate more successfully? Will they not? Time will tell. But I think it's a really interesting insight into how the global, and again, I'm looking at more mature markets, but how that global innovation function is changing. How they're working, again, this is super interesting for me. So, there's the conversation around insurance companies struggle to innovate, et cetera, but we are seeing such a shift towards open innovation. Yeah? So this is how do they innovate. This is huge for me. This is the partnership side. So when I say we as a business, we help our clients identify tech companies to work with, to invest into, or to acquire, almost all of our work is focused around partnerships. Yeah, we help them identify partnerships. And the reason we do that is because it helps them get from A to B faster. Yeah, and it's proven out time and time again. What's really interesting for me, again, is on the top here, is for years we've been looking at what does the picture in 10 years look like? Yeah, so a big project we did with Allianz or Munich Re, forgive me if either of you are in the room, We looked at, life and health in 10 years plus. What are the trends that we're seeing? So, how do we as a business even think about starting to answer that question without it, being some kind of speculative idea? So we look at data of, the really early stage businesses, where money is flowing, where is opportunity created, and we answer that. But that's not a focus anymore, right? The industry is starting to come back. So it's not looking at Horizon 3. It's not really looking at Horizon 2. It's looking at Horizon 1, the business of today. Yeah? So innovation has now become decentralized, and the focus for the innovation function and functions is looking at evolving the business today. So again, this supports the InsurTech is dead, we are all tech vendors now. Yeah? Because we are trying to change the today. Yeah? It's a transformation play. It's what I dreamt of on my bike. Yeah? Well, I didn't. I was trying to reinvent the world, but it's the solution to that, right? It's doing today better. And then this one here, this is, I don't know why I didn't put titles, so forgive me. Maybe it's just to draw the audience to my voice. But this is how much of your activity is strategically aligned. Yeah? So these aren't crazy bets. Should we step into a new market? Should we do, this is how close to our business is innovation, right? What do we got? 93%. And then the rest is other, no-nos. Okay. I thought I would move a little bit. There's a lot of information here, I appreciate, okay? So this is an hour of me going, what? This is what our clients are focused upon right now. These are the 3 big risks that they care about. So McKinsey just launched a huge survey of millions of people, I don't know how many, but the results are the same 3. And this is what we're seeing in the market. So climate change, geopolitical instability, and cyber. Yeah? And so I thought I'd just share this with you because this is where it's very easy to think about moving a business from A to B, right? But there's a lot of white space in the business today. Yeah? There are new opportunities. I talked about this a little earlier, and I've brought this into the slide. So I was going to share with you some of the research briefs that we've been given from our clients over the last few weeks. And again, some of these are InsurTechs, yeah? But there's a lot of stuff in here that doesn't sit naturally in the world of InsurTech as we know it, right? Sorry, Oscar, if I'm in your way there. So, and I think it's really interesting. And this is, we have such a variety. And this is where, these are some amazing companies out here today. And you've got some amazing companies in LATAM. But there are some amazing companies globally. And it works the other way around, right? So the Concept guys, we introduced to Tokyo Marine in Japan. Yeah, they're a French business. But they were the right business to help them. Yeah, and this is a big global environment where almost kind of language it's not important. It's about the technology, the implementation, what we can do, and the breadth of our needs as an industry. I also wanted to look a little bit further out. So we've explored the today. This is a publication that we ran last year, which is, we got asked if we could look to 5 years plus, and what does the future look like? And so this was, again, for a big events company, so the InsurTech Connect guys. And this is really interesting where we started to look at regional trends. So the exam question was 5 years plus. So how we did that is our thesis for that is we look at companies that have had Series A investment and below. Because these are the businesses that are still super early stage, but will be making an impact in a few years' time. So we took all of the data for all of these companies from APAC, Europe, and Americas. And Americas is complicated, right? When you bring Americas, what was all that about? That was a terrible brief. And we then tried to analyze that data, put that through judging criteria. So we looked at the people within the business, the products of the companies, the traction they had to date. And then we published the top 50 in each company. And then we reviewed those 50 companies and what could we tell. So within, and here, Colton, I don't know if Edu's in the audience, but anyway. So these guys were the only Mexican representative in the Forward 50, but fantastic. This is one of the top companies in the Americas, right? So that's a reason to celebrate. Series A and below. Trends we saw within that, it's all about P&C, so the future of the Americas market, but I appreciate the breadth of what I'm saying. So it's all about P&C. AI was in every single company's description, to the point it's of paralysis. What is the difference between these? We saw more diversity from the founding teams, and it's echoed. We had an all-female panel. Yeah, wonderful. I love this, right? So and it's still massive minority and really crap, but we need to change that up, yeah, and it's moving forward. And then the rise of the MGA, lots of MGAs in the market, right? And it's really interesting. There's a lot of interest in the MGA space as well from our clients. So that's Forward 50. Chapter 3, and I won't keep you too much longer, and then we can do some questions. So chapter 3 is the Gold Rush 2.0, right? So there is some amazing technology. There is a whole load of money that wants to get deployed, and we're still talking about an industry that has barely changed. But the good news, and I think this is probably more true for the mature markets than it is the local market, is you have a client base, a big corporate, who understands the need to innovate and the desire to innovate and the desire to work with startups to help them evolve their business. Yeah, there's a real appetite and hunger. So we have clients who have, Tokyo Marine, they have Tokyo Marine in Japan, big global insurance company, I'm sure you're familiar with them, but they have 125 innovation scouts who use Sønr to find partners to work with around the world, right? They are leaning in. They want to connect with. And so when I'm in meetings with the associations that you have here, they are a tremendous opportunity for you guys who work in established business. They offer what we offer at Sønr, but they do it for free, right? That's basically the difference. Yeah, we charge hundreds of thousands of pounds for the opportunity to work with us, to help you find the right technology. They've got all of these guys in their books already, right? It's there for the taking. So this is, you don't have to play this game. This isn't like game number 2, but you can. I haven't played it myself. Yeah, okay, look, I'm in different flags, right? I didn't even look, I just grabbed the slide. So there's something really interesting. Again, I use the reference of ITC Vegas because it was a big event. And you have, I don't know, what was it, like 500, 600 vendors, all in one huge room, right? It's enormous. And we're seeing this with our clients, and we're hearing this from our clients. Every single company says the same thing. Yeah? So you have a problem, you want to get a solution for it. You go to the market to find a solution, they all sound the same. So how do you separate any of these businesses who are all saying the same thing? AI-powered, and hey, look, we're guilty of it, AI-powered market intelligence, right? But it's how do you separate these companies? The good news is there's an answer to this. And this is what I was chatting with Oscar about yesterday, and this is something I'd love, if you work in the corporate space, I'd love you to embrace. Okay, so let me go back to the travelers example. So we worked with their claims team. We identified needs. We then went and scouted for the solutions in the market that could solve the need. Really simple. We worked with the client and the vendors, and we just jumped on calls. Yeah, so we did as much as we could, right? So what are the feature set? How does that match to the brief, to the need? We got the best of the best. But there's so much more, right? There's culture, there's people, there's all sorts of things. And so we had various calls with these guys. But the key thing for me is this one-day workshop. Yeah, so this is the slide is meant to represent like experiments, but it's meant to represent validation as well, right? There's an opportunity to validate, is there something that you could and should do together? Get together in a room one day, you plus tech partner. Yeah, come together. What's the big idea that you can do together? 1 + 1 is always 3, 4, or 5. It's never 2. Yeah, there's always a bigger idea than you're already thinking, and the tech partner will often have already thought differently and quite excitedly about the potential. Don't do 12-month POCs where you spend millions of pounds, right? There's a new way of doing it. In 3 weeks, you can normally validate, will this partnership work? Yeah? But so in one day, you come up with a big idea, and you come up with what does that POC look like, yeah? And how do we measure the success of the POC? How much will it cost? What are the KPIs? What resource do we need? How long will it take? Yeah? At the end of the one day, it will cost $25,000 to run a 3-week POC that we know that will validate a multi-million-pound opportunity. Shall we do that? Of course you fucking should, right? It's an absolute no-brainer, but the market doesn't and hasn't been thinking like this. So there are new ways to do this stuff, right? And it's exciting. It sounds obvious, but it's different to the normal, right? So this is one of the businesses that we bought into Travelers. And I don't know, I didn't know whether I was going to keep the slide or take it out. But I think what's interesting is you have 3 very different businesses. And again, would you call them insurtechs? So you have these guys who are a digital human. Yeah, so the world of deep fake interests me so much. But imagine your claims team was a digital human, right? It's an avatar. But it's connected into all of your knowledge hub, your CRM, and as well as that, you're able to interact. So you can chat to Sophie on their website. Yeah, they're a New Zealand company, I think, but now operating in the US. And she laughs. She gets your jokes, yeah, which is great, right? It's my new buddy. And she interacts and she can tell jokes herself, and it's just the most incredible. But she shows emotion while she's doing this. Yeah, it's frighteningly real, but it's today. Yeah, this can evolve your business today. And then you've got AI risk, which is a really interesting space, and then you've got climate technology. So you've got some really interesting businesses, and these are 3 examples that we've been taking briefs from our clients, and then these are the solutions to them. But really importantly, what they're not are me saying, here are 3 companies, go and work with them. Yeah? My message to you is not get excited by these companies and the technology. My message to you is work out what your problem is, prioritize those, and then go and find solutions that fit that. Yeah? So go, whether it's the associations, it's Sønr, it's whoever it is. So, what you shouldn't do. Can you believe he's not our president, but he's the president of the United States. So these are 3 businesses that didn't work out, right? And again, I come back to the analogy of iterative innovation as opposed to invention. Can anyone remember the Facebook phone? Yeah, I mean, right, no one. Trump steaks? Oh, maybe one. Trump steaks? Yeah, I mean, imagine, right, this guy. And we've all got our different political views. I fully respect that. And Cheetos. Who thought Cheetos lip salve would ever be a good idea, right? I mean, that's something else. So, I got a couple of minutes left. So I'm come back to this, right? I'm going to use a different metaphor now, but I talk about innovation being iterative. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Maybe in Mexico you do, right? Maybe there is so much white space with this underserved market that it allows for technology to take and steal market whilst the incumbents are slowly evolving, right? Maybe. I think it's a really interesting space. I think also, genuinely, I look at the global market and I think LATAM is one of the most exciting spaces to be in right now. So I think for you guys all in this room, I'm very, very envious, and why I also jumped at the chance of being able to come and meet and connect with you guys. But, my metaphor, this stuff happens in cycles, right? Yes, so you can learn from the mistakes we've made in these mature markets, and you hopefully will accelerate much quicker than these markets. But this stuff happens in waves, yeah? So whilst we're seeing innovation become decentralized, and some of our clients really focusing on today, we have other clients who are saying, right, that's an opportunity for growth for us. Yeah, they're doubling down on innovation. They're putting centralized teams. They're pouring and allocating budgets into creating new futures. And again, this is the separation in performance lines. Yeah. So all of this stuff comes around. And yeah, again, my message to all of you guys in big business is work with these tech vendors, right? That is where the opportunity lies. My message to all the startups and scale-ups in the room is help them understand and validate these opportunities to work with you, but also go and make your own futures as well, right? Out of this white space that we're seeing. So for me, let's go to Q&A. Hopefully there are some questions. I'm happy to field anything, whether it's about the Hyrox, whether it's about cycling, whether it's about any insurtech, and insurance stuff. But thank you very much, guys.
Hey, thanks very much, Matt. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks.
Thank you for a very nice presentation, even though you broke all the InsurTech with the It's Dead. So, vamos a tener preguntas. Si alguien quiere hacer la pregunta en español, yo la puedo traducir. Tenemos suficiente tiempo para un par de preguntas. De hecho, varias preguntas si quieren. Entonces, pues, 3 preguntas, que ya se eleva.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
Luis from Dupla here. Thank you very much. It was very interesting. I would love for you to explain a little bit further on the how to jumpstart pilots. You know, this method you mentioned, the PRC, if I'm correct.
Yes.
These pilots, or also if you know anything about success-based projects. So I would love
What do you
to know.
mean by success-based?
Sometimes you can trigger a project when a big corporation is paying by success. So
Okay,
only
yeah.
when there's success they will pay, but you
Yeah,
make
sure.
it very short in time. And we've been finding out that it's an interesting way to jumpstart.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 questions in that. So question number 1 around successful POCs and what we have seen. So we started, and I hope it's not too long an answer, okay? I'm going to take you on a little story. So we started Sønr 8 years ago. And we started in the typical way of a beauty parade. Yeah? So we had clients who needed, or we thought could benefit from technology. So we got excited by 5, 10 businesses, and we took them up to our clients, and our clients loved it. It's high fives, they had the best day, they paid us some money, everything was great. But nothing happened. Nothing. They never worked together. So, right, okay. Next stage was, let's start with the problem and try and fix the problem. Yeah? And so we worked with our clients. We had 10 problems, and we found 10 solutions. We brought them together, and it was high fives. They loved it. Culturally, it changed it. Nothing happened. Yeah, it's like, okay, interesting. So we thought we were getting closer. About 3 years ago, we then introduced the one-day workshop thing, and this is where it all changed for us. And so part of the POC answer is in this one-day workshop. So we truly believe in many examples that you can validate an opportunity, right? So an opportunity to solve a problem within 3 weeks. How you do that depends on the type of business you are. Yeah. So we've had some businesses that will put a CX team, a UX team, some front-end developers, create some wireframes, take it out into the street, test it with real people, and get a response. Yeah, will you buy this? Will you use this? Will you, and if 90% say yes, let's get on and move the project forward. Equally, we've had some clients, some vendors, all they needed is to take some data from an insurance company, put it through the engine they've already built, and as an output, they show that they can improve the data or augment the data or validate it, whatever it is, right? So the solutions differ. But if you put a pressure on let's do something within a very short amount of time, we find the biggest block isn't money, isn't really time, it's about resource for the big corporates. They can't spare the staff, yeah? So if you can identify a way that you can show that your product or solution can validate or create opportunities in a really low cost, low resource intensive, short amount of time, and hit KPIs that you agree in advance to then move the project forward, great. Yeah, so that it's as simple as that, right? But it's this one-day workshop that allows you to understand how you can, what is the business that you have, what is the engine you have, what is the data you need, whatever the situation is, and it allows you to create a POC. But what's amazing is you do it together with the client, right? So you become a team, you're both working on this, and then you present together back to the leadership. Yeah, and it's then presented in a way that is the language of the business. Yeah, it's not your language. That doesn't mean anything to these guys, right? I mean, you know what I mean. So it's the language of the business, and they know they're pitching to, I don't know, whoever it is on the leadership team, but they know what he or she is going to be triggered by, what they want to see, and so doing that kind of method is a really valuable one. In terms of the risk-based POC activity, Yeah, I mean, so we've played around with that. We've seen it from different startups. It really depends on the culture of the business and whether they can accept that. Because again, it's not normally about money for what we see. Yeah, so you saying you can do it for free. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have clients who say, yeah, look, I mean, we will probably put $50,000 for a POC, but let's wait until the startup tells us how much it will cost. And the startup says it's going to cost 2,000. I mean, they could have said 50,000, right? But they said 2. And that's fine, right? The client will pay 2, or they'll pay 50. It doesn't matter to them. So for them, getting stuff for free is never as important in our experience. But if you can find the client that is entrepreneurial and go on that journey with you, yeah, great.
Super.
I'll make my next answer shorter.
Okay.
My question is, we all know that we sell as insurers an anti-product, a product we don't really want to obtain its end result. And you were talking about making a real disruption. And if I understood correctly, what you're saying is there's a lot of fuzz around doing tech thing, solutions, but there's no disruption. I know it's not an easy question, but what would be a small pitch, or what would be a disruption for you? If you found it, what would it look like?
Yeah, so for me, I think, and maybe bring it back to the local market, right? It's you have a country that barely has any insurance. Yeah, so for me, it's disruption is the Lemonades of the world, right? But it's creating a product or a business that is able to find a new market. Yeah, so it's not the continuous iteration. It's the creating white space. Yeah, it's creating new markets. So whether it's the uninsured drivers of Mexico, yeah, or whether it's a climate tech business that has, I don't know, whatever it be, carbon offsetting capabilities, right? Or and that is important for your market, for your insurance companies. So for me, disruption is genuinely that creation of new market, which I think, and this is what excites me about Mexico, is there is more opportunity to do so, especially if you are talking, and I don't know if this is fact or not, but if you have a sea of corporates who are not getting more customers, they're simply just charging more, and their market size stays the same, you're not solving the underinsured problem. Someone else has to do that, right? At a point, they're going to move across because they're going to be saturated like the European and US insurance as well. So they're going to have to find these new markets, new growth opportunities. But I think they're here in spades. They're here, like there's huge opportunity for that, as I understand it from the Mexican market at least, or LATAM maybe more broadly. Does that answer your question?
Super. ¿Alguien más tiene una pregunta?
Hi.
Hi.
So you talked about innovation and how it's becoming decentralized, but you didn't give your opinion about that. So what do you think? What is best?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. What is best? I struggle with decentralized innovation, but I think it's because it's new. And so we're now talking about, and we have it with our clients, right? They're not experienced in innovation and how to approach innovation, yet they have huge headaches. But these headaches in turn mean they're so busy they don't think about innovation. Yeah, and so they default back to what they know because that's human nature. And so what they know is they know that they have a team of engineers who probably could build future solutions. Yeah, and it's our job at Sønr and the associations, but also us as an industry, to rethink that and help them, these guys and girls who now have innovation within their function, help them understand the processes that they can go by to working with these external partners. But I also see, as I said, it's a cycle, right? I think it will be coming back where there will be that centralized innovation teams, or better still, that they still work within the business, but you have then innovation functions spread throughout their companies. Because lots of these big insurance companies, and I'm sure a few are here today, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Where they siloed. Yeah, they work in silos. And if you have an innovation structure within each of those silos, great. And then you can move it all forward much faster. So I think the theory may work, but again, each company has different culture, different experience. We'll see.
Super, tenemos espacio para one more question, una pregunta más. Over there. Yeah. Hasta allá. Allá. Yes.
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
You talk about the cybersecurity, cyber risks. It's one of the major risks, but tell me a little bit more about what innovations are around that space, please.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a really interesting space, but I think it's a space that will grow quicker and quicker. And so the Q3, oh man, I've started down a track. I don't know if I can finish. There was a really big investment into a cyber business, like many hundreds of millions just recently. And I think what you have is you have a rapidly maturing cyber market. And I think the risks around that are many, right? And I think then the solutions are many. So you have businesses like, an amazing business like Coalition. I don't know if you know those guys. Are you a cyber guy yourself? No. So you have risks that are there for large corporates. So, but you have risks that are there for the SMEs. And again, very different businesses focus on these markets. But the risks are there for us as individuals, as consumers as well, right? So you have some amazing tech plays. I'm probably not the expert to go into each of the businesses, but there are some fantastic companies out there that are attracting huge amounts of money in this space. But I think there's also a really interesting, when I talk about external technology coming into insurance, cyber is probably where we're seeing that the heaviest. So these businesses that have set up, maybe we've got a lot of cyber businesses out of Israel because of their defense structure, and then all going into the army and then coming out as entrepreneurs who set up cyber businesses. But with that, I think what you have is a lot of technology that is applied to other industries that is now realizing that insurance offers a really interesting space. And maybe connecting the two questions is a lot of insurance has been about protection, and a lot of the conversation now is moving from protection to prevention. And cyber plays a really interesting and opportunistic role within that as well. So it's how can we make sure that our people, live longer from a health perspective, but also from a protection, from a security perspective. They don't get attacked from a cyber perspective and whatever else in the protection space. So some really interesting businesses. Happy to come back to you with any more detail that you want around kind of models or businesses you should look at. But.
Okay. Bueno, pues muchísimas gracias a todos. Les pido una ronda de aplauso otra vez para el Matt.
Thanks,
Matt
guys.
Connolly.